All right, welcome to the second video in my most exciting series. I'm so excited about this. But one of the main things in the Agile Institute that we emphasize, for people either, especially for people who are kind of first getting into it, but even, people like me or like people more along than me, this is a great resource. It's completely free. If you have in-depth discussions with like ChatGPT about like what the most lucrative, valuable thing you can do in technology is, it'll say full stack JavaScript development. So this only teaches two things. It teaches Ruby on Rails and JavaScript full stack development. So you know you're you're on Rails to basically do the most lucrative thing possible. So like it's a great resource. It's relevant. It's general. Like it talks about a lot of different aspects of it. And at the same time, it is thorough. It will actually lead to a good skill set. So I want to jump down to this one, getting hired. I think this is, if there's one thing I can really help people with watching this channel, it's getting hired, because right now, as a lot of people know, the tech industry, especially for remote jobs, is kind of going through something. I don't know exactly what's happening, but it is harder to get hired than I think it was before, especially if you're looking for remote work, which is kind of funny because remote work kind of had its day during the pandemic, but it feels like just overall it's harder to get hired, even for something full on site. So this is going to be really important. So I'm just going to read through the whole thing as part of the first things I do for this playlist, and then hopefully I'll start being able to post some live mentorship sessions very soon. But I'm going to start with the overview for the Getting Hired course. Web development is a lifelong journey of learning and growth. And I'm not in web development. This channel is not necessarily a web development channel. It's more of a network engineering channel. But it's technology. Things change all the time. Network engineering isn't really a thing anymore. It's more like cloud, SRE, DevOps. Like traditional network engineering is kind of still a thing, but like it's the CCNA is basically all different. Like it's all about device virtualization now. It's just so different. So like, yeah, they're right. Web development is a lifelong journey of learning and growth, but that's the same for anything in tech. So that's why I'm reading this, even though this is more of a network engineering channel. So continue that journey on a professional development team. You'll learn where to find jobs, how to do great interviews, and the best strategies to launch your career. And again, I'm reading this because I find when it comes to doing mentorship, right now, more than ever, I think people need this information. So preparing for your first job search, we're going to read how the course will work. And this is a hyperlink, so I guess I'm just going to click it. Oh, okay, it just takes you there. So how this course will work. Introduction. You've been figuring out this web development stuff and building apps for a long time now, and it's finally time to get paid to keep learning by working for someone else. So that's a good point there already. You've been doing it for a while, and now it's time to get paid. That's a good point. If you look at my YouTube channel, I'm not paid for the YouTube channel. I don't have a million subscribers. I don't have endorsement deals, anything like that. I get nothing, and that's important. It's a skill. You have to build the skill, and once you're good enough at the skill, that's where you start getting paid. So already that first sentence is kind of a home run for me, because it really emphasizes the idea that you have to bring something to the table the moment you're hired. You're absolutely capable of getting a job, but it's rarely easy to find one. You'll have to be honest with yourself about what you want and what you can offer. And there you go, what you can offer. And tackle the challenge of getting hired with the same rigor and structure that has gotten you this far. And again, this presupposes a level of skill, which is, something that can go very wrong in job searching. Oh, I have this level of skills. Okay, great. Here's your interview. We're going to go with the guy that has 3 CCIEs. Sorry, when all you have is CCNA. So you've got to build up that level of skills. If you want the higher level jobs, you need the higher level certs, and you need to have things to show for yourself that really put you ahead. So you're absolutely capable of getting a job, but it's rarely easy to find one. You'll have to be honest with yourself about what you want and what you can offer, and tackle the challenge of getting hired with the same rigor and structure that has gotten you this far. This is as much an odds game as anything else is. And that's a good point too. That hits it right out of the park. And it's hard to understand that too, because I think I would fall into this trap. Oh, I wasn't hired. There must be something wrong with me. It's like, no, you're playing the stock market. Basically, you're playing poker. You had 2 aces in your hand. You did everything right. You just didn't happen to win. But if you keep getting aces in your hand, eventually you are going to win. So it's as much an odds game as anything is, especially for first-time employees who haven't been proven by past experience. That means you'll get your fair share of rejection along the way, but everyone does, and I will attest to that. You just need to keep building your skills and portfolio to make yourself a stronger candidate while continuing to send applications and get yourself out there every day. So this YouTube channel, that's what I'm doing. If you're watching this and ask yourself, look back through my, library and the history and the things I've done. How do you stack up? And that might be a thing where it's like, oh, it might be a wake-up call, like, oh, I'm just not doing enough, I need to study more. Or it might be a great thing. I failed the JNCIESP. My Juniper certs have expired. All I have right now is a CCNA. I really kind of am lacking a lot of cloud stuff in what I do. I have no real certs in data science or in machine learning. So you need to keep building your skills and portfolio to make yourself a strong candidate. So ask yourself if you're really doing that, and if you are, prove it. For me, it's like, well, just look at my YouTube channel. That should be proof. If that's not enough proof, I have an active CCNA certification right now. You can verify my employment with employment history. It's not hard to prove that I'm a strong candidate, and I hope anyone watching this has that same realization. And if they don't, and you're left feeling, I'm way behind, well, it's time to catch up. All right, so this course will lay out a structured path to follow, which should help you avoid some of the pitfalls of just diving into the process without a plan. Read through this course completely once, then use it step by step along the way as you go through the process. Good luck and get after it. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to read it through, and then I might come back to it later, probably off camera in my own time, and I'm not job searching now, and put the things into practice, but I might do that later. For now, I'm just going to read through. So the next section is format. This course is structured a bit differently than the others because it's much more... I need to turn my treadmill on here. I found my remote. I can't find it again. Because it's much more about you getting out there than it is about learning a specific skill or building a specific project. That's another big one. It doesn't matter how skilled you are, if nobody knows who you are, that you're out there, you're not going to get hired. That's another kind of reason I made this YouTube channel, because I felt like, all this time studying and stuff, it's like what does it matter how much I study if nobody knows that I'm studying it? It's like, yeah, if I get the JNCIE or if I get the CCIE, that matters because people will find that out. But those are capstone certs meant to happen after substantial, like that's not a prerequisite. That's the capstone thing. So it's like, let's see here. So this course is structured a bit differently than the others because there's much more about getting you out there than it is about learning a specific skill or building a specific project. There are a couple projects which you'll be asked to do, but most of the structure here exists to scaffold your job search process. So that's on the second read through. The first read through, we're just going to go through and not do any of the projects. In each lesson, we'll introduce the topic and provide you with its context in your overall search. You'll be asked to do readings, watch videos, do online courses, or otherwise consume content to help you out. You'll often be asked to do specific tasks, for instance, keeping track of the applications you've submitted. This is purely to help you along the way. Finally, we'll include additional helpful resources and other potentially useful tidbits at the end of each lesson. Enough talk, go get hired. And the cool thing about Odin Project 2 is it is an open source project. So you can go to the GitHub, you can fork the repository, make changes, and then submit them back. So we can see that people have done that here. There's 42 pull requests. So if your pull request, even if it's not accepted in the project, this is the kind of stuff that looks really good to employers, or like on a resume or something like that, like a real open source contribution, especially to like something like Wireshark, or like something that a lot of people use. Like that's great. All right, so I can mark this complete and go on to the next lesson. The next lesson is professional networking. Introduction. A robust professional network is an irreplaceable asset on your journey to becoming a web developer and beyond. As social beings, we are wired to connect with others, receive help, and give help. And this is true for introverts as well. Speaking as an introvert, yeah, if you're involved in a community with similar interests, you're definitely going to be better, I think, at those interests than those who are not. This is no different in the software ecosystem, where countless communities take part in the mutually beneficial transactions of networking. And one thing I do need to say, because I got a lot to say about this, believe me, but I feel like there's a division in generations, that has to do with age. I feel like somebody older, unfortunately to say, I'm sure there's a better way to say that, would read this and think, I need to go somewhere, I need to shake hands, look people in the eyes, and that's how I connect with others. Whereas somebody like me, and then definitely all the people in their 20s now, it's no longer like that's. There's going to be kind of a paradigm shift where more people are going to think the way I do, which I will explain now, and that is that you can participate online, you can make connections with people online, and have those be real, mutually beneficial transactions of networking, even though you've never met the person. I honestly believe that there is little to no difference between looking someone in the eye and shaking their hand and having an online history with someone where you accomplish something meaningful. I don't think there's a difference between those two. One significant, even though if you've never met them, one significant benefit of your network is that it might help you land your first job in software. This is not a guarantee, but it is the lived experience of many developers. As with all things, you get back what you put in. So the more developed your network is, the better your odds will provide a benefit for you. Making genuine connections with people takes time. However, so we recommend you start investing time and effort sooner than later. Lesson overview. This section contains a general overview of topics that you will learn in this lesson: what a professional network is, how a professional network might benefit you, strategies and actions to consider when building and maintaining your professional network. So, what is a professional network? Your professional network is not the people you follow on social media, nor is it necessarily your friends. It is the people with whom you have made a genuine connection, whether in person or online. And that's the key. That's what I mentioned before. You don't have to look them in the eye and shake their hands. You can have a genuine connection with somebody online. And I think that's hard for some people to understand. Because you have a mutual interest and can gain more value through being connected than you could otherwise have alone. And that's the key right there. And that's why it works online. Because online you can gain more value through being connected than you would otherwise have alone. And I think the reason this might resonate more with the younger generation is because they grew up playing video games together, and they can do better at the game if they have the right group of friends to play the game with, even if some or all of those friends are on the other side of the country, the other side of the world, and they've never met them in person before. It's much better to play with a skilled player of the game than it is to go outside, look someone in the eyes, shake their hand, bring them back to play the game, and they just never get good at the game. So these are the people you can ask for help, and in turn, you can help out later. The network that will help you on your journey to becoming a software developer will mostly consist of people working in software development and adjacent roles like recruitment or management. Take stock of your network in this field now. Chances are you might benefit from expanding it, and this is just a read through, so I'm not going to be thinking about that really unless I come back and do this again. I'll probably do that off camera, but if you want, you can pause the video and do that. I do encourage anyone watching this now, you'll probably get the most value out of it by reading it once over yourself, because I'm going to be doing tangents and talking about things, coming back to this video and then hearing my take on certain things, and then actually doing the exercises. So taking a stock of your network in this field, create like a mind map, I would say. So of people, I think that would make a lot of sense to do. So you can go to this free, you can go to like a free, sorry, I'm on my treadmill here. You can go to like a free, free map. There we go. Look at this. And then you can like put the name of people and their titles, and like somebody you really know well, maybe you worked with, or like a friend, or something, you can put right in the middle, and then you can put like peripheral people on there, and their contact information you should put on there. You kind of get that automatically with LinkedIn, but I think an advantage of doing it yourself is, aside from like Facebook or LinkedIn, is, these are real people, like that you can imagine. On LinkedIn, you get a lot of like fake connections, or like connections that, so like, this is just what I think. The point is to read this and kind of get some good takeaways, and maybe change what I think to something more effective. All right, so you probably think, let's see here. Okay, so take stock of your network in this field now. Chances are you might benefit from expanding it. Why is a professional network useful? You can probably think of instances where you were stuck on a task and asked someone for help. This is an example of exercising your network. You can do the same with your software developer network to help gather information, make decisions, and find a job. And I feel like, honestly, like network engineers should have like a advantage, because there's like networking concepts such as hello timers, dead timers, BGP adjacencies that you could probably apply to your professional network and include in your mind map. So it's like, you should have like a hello interval going out and just say like, hey, what's up? Or like, how you doing? To someone every week, every 2 weeks, every month. And if they just continually not respond, you should have a dead timer on that. Like, okay, 3 non-responses to my hellos, that connection is down. And maybe you can take an intervention to try to bring it back up. But maybe, you don't need to send your traffic that way, and you can focus on building out your network in more lucrative areas. So kind of applying the math and the technology of actual networking to like this more abstract like professional networking, people-based stuff. I think you could have a kind of a advantage. So when it comes to information gathering, search engines and AI can be very helpful. But when more nuance is needed, it can be easier to ask a real human. For example, you might want to conduct an informal interview with a senior developer to learn about what they do and how they broke into the industry. You might be seeking feedback on your portfolio. You may be looking to get some career progression advice. Interacting with someone who has experience in what you seek can be beneficial because you can form a dialogue, ask follow-up questions, and get real-time feedback. Your network can also help you make decisions. Have you ever had decision paralysis? This is when you are presented with so many options you cannot choose. This happens a lot in tech, especially for newcomers, given the sheer amount of languages, frameworks, and tools to choose from. And I've talked about that a lot on this channel. Sometimes it's easier to canvass the people you trust and take their recommendations. By doing this, we are gathering social proof. If someone we know recommends something, we are more likely to choose it. That is why you read reviews before buying stuff online. So yeah, that's a great way to decide, do I study AWS? Do I study GCP? Do I study Azure? Well, what the people who are happily employed and love their lives, which one did they study? Probably study that one. When it comes to finding a job, your network can be the most valuable asset to have. Depending on the source, up to 80% of all jobs are not posted online. This is something I love to emphasize in my mentoring. This means that you are only seeing about 20% of all open jobs when you are browsing job boards, and the rest are in the hidden jobs market. Now, these percentages may vary, but it's safe to bet that the hidden jobs market is real and likely significant. Even if it were flipped, 80% were posted, 20% were not. In order to apply for 100% of the jobs out there, which would be a good strategy if you're not finding a job, you should know how to apply for that extra 20%. But I will attest to the fact that obviously not all jobs are posted online. And not only that, a big percentage of the jobs that aren't real. They're either actual scams, or the reason they're being posted is to comply with stuff like anti-nepotism laws, or it's just not a real post. If your strategy does not attempt to tap into this market, the hidden jobs market, you are undermining your chances of success and will be stuck competing with many applicants for fewer jobs. Exactly. Yeah, and that's the other thing. If you find a hidden job, it's yours. You found it. No one else can, the triple CCIE that doesn't know about it. If they really need to get someone now who knows networking and all you've got is your CCNA, they have no option to go with the triple CCIE because they need someone now, and the job is hidden. Like the triple CCIE can't find it. Think of it from the company's perspective. Hiring is a pain. In a perfect world, a great candidate would show up instantly anytime a new job opened up. This would save them going through the process of posting the job, screening applicants, marking technical assessments, and conducting interviews. This all takes time and is very expensive. So it stands to reason why most companies would prefer to hire through the hidden jobs market. So how do you tap into the hidden jobs market? Through your network. If your network sees you as a trusted individual with a particular skill set, you can be sure that they will think of you when matching opportunities arise. You might ask around about potential jobs and receive a heads up of a new opportunity at someone's company. Better still, you could be recommended for a particular role. Many companies even give bonuses to staff who refer a candidate that gets hired. So the incentive to network and pass names along goes both ways. This is not to say you should refrain entirely from applying to posted jobs. These are definitely still worthwhile to pursue, but it's still better to choose quality over quantity by seeking companies that you find interesting and that have core values you identify with. You will be better off sending fewer tailored applications over hundreds of the same application in a shotgun-like approach. Yeah, so if you're not applying for real jobs, you're not going to get the job, no matter how many of those fake jobs you apply to. So you're better off applying for one real job than a million fake jobs. We cover more on this in the Getting Hired course. So right now we're not on the Getting Hired course, I guess. Or later they'll cover more. How to build a professional network. Just like building your technical skills, networking requires careful attention and a strategic approach. A local network allows you to build strong in-person connections, while a virtual network allows you to connect with people all over the world. Both are useful, and a strategy that focuses on the two will be the most robust. Start now. Your network will take time to build. The sooner you start making connections, the better. Starting now means you will have more of a network to leverage when you need to rely on it. Consider proactively allocating a percentage of your web development study time to this activity. This can act as a nice breather between the mental workout of coding. And you may even combine networking and learning during activities like attending local meetups and conferences. All right, so identify your options. And I might need to pause. No, I'm good. Your time is limited and your options are endless. So you should understand what options you have at your disposal and select one or two to start with. In-person networking opportunities will vary based on your location. Larger towns and cities will likely have well-established tech-related events and groups, whereas smaller communities may be more limited. I keep kicking myself in the face for this too. John Metcalf, MET CA. John. Wait, is it John Metcalf? No, it's not John. What's his first name? CALFE. I thought it was John. No, his name's not John. But if I type in Ethernet Metcalf, Robert. Yeah, his name's Robert. This guy. So this guy, this is the Al Gore of the internet. This is the guy that actually invented the internet. He invented. He made this. Like he invented the idea of Ethernet. Well, he was a co-inventor, but he like patented and published the technology. I mean, let's read more about him. But anyway, he's in my hometown at the university here. So, and he's involved in the Capital Entrepreneur Factory. Capital Factory. Yeah. So he gives talks here. He hangs out here. He's a real person, and he could be somebody in my professional network if I were more strategic about building a profession. He should be someone in my professional network because he goes to these public spaces. He should be somebody either on the very edge or at least he should be somebody on the very edge who like I have talked to, or at the very least I've listened to one of his lectures. But Massachusetts Institute of Technology, 2 bachelor's degrees in intellectual engineering, industrial management, Harvard, Master of Science in Applied Mathematics, and to top it all off, a PhD from Harvard as well. So this is the world's smartest man. This is a living Einstein. And he just is in my backyard. Like I could go probably meet him this weekend. Yeah, so that I think this is a good example of what we're talking about here, which is identifying your options. And one of those options are in-person networking opportunities. If you're in a larger town and city, you might be able to meet Robert Metcalf, a living Albert Einstein who co-invented the Ethernet. If you're in a smaller town, though, you're probably going to have to depend more on online connections. I think it's great to establish like real connections with real people like me. I'm a good example of this, but like people who aren't Robert Metcalf. You don't need to know Albert Einstein to study physics. You know what I mean? It's like, even if you just read a physics book by like a good author, and like you're not even meeting a real person, you're just reading that book, like that's a valuable connection. Like you read that physics book, you did the physics problems, you're a better physicist than somebody who just went to a half-hour lecture by Albert Einstein and didn't study physics. Like you are. So you know what I mean? There is like, I feel like the if you're in a smaller community, your options are more limited, but that doesn't mean you don't have any options at all. And in fact, some of those connections with people who aren't a living day Albert Einstein can be more valuable because they have actually more time to give and they can care about you more. Like, I think it's hard to get in the inner circle of Robert Metcalf. Like you probably have to be a university student if you want to get into his inner circle, because he actually is a professor at UT. So you basically have to be like a graduate student. He's already married, so he can't go down that route. As far as I know, I'll check. I'm in Texas. That wouldn't go over too well. Anyway, moving on. Not going. Oh yeah, he is. Yeah, okay. So let's see here. To get a better sense of what's going on around you, consider the following. Check Meetup, LinkedIn, and or Google for local communities focused on a given technology. Great suggestion there. Scour local business publications for notices on local conferences and tech events. Talk to friends and family to see who might be a software developer you could be introduced to. Follow local tech companies on social media to learn about their in-person events. Sign up for newsletters focused on content in your local tech scene. Start your own meetup group focused on a particular topic, for example, Ruby or JavaScript. And this here is I think if you're from a smaller community, this is where you've got a huge advantage over people in larger communities, because you could easily end up being like the guy who like is running these meetups, and like you could easily create like a small anomalous pocket in some remote area of like 5-10 of the best people, you know, in the world doing this thing, because you're all reading the right books, you're all doing the right projects, you're reaching out and forming like online connections to the right people. Like in the age of the internet, like it can actually be an advantage that you're not constantly, you know, pulled in all these directions and made to feel inferior and like you're not smart enough or don't belong because you're not best friends with Einstein, with a Turing Award winner. So your virtual networking options are much broader, and there's no shortage of platforms and communities to choose from. Consider the following to help you decide on where and how to focus your efforts. So you can join the Odin community. I actually haven't done that. That's a good suggestion. I'll get to that later. Right now, I'm just going to stay on topic here. LinkedIn. I have a LinkedIn. I put effort into my LinkedIn. I actually invested some money into my LinkedIn too, to have like a LinkedIn coach like preview it. I think that is worth it if you're not going to bankrupt yourself for that and you can afford that. I think that's actually a good use of money. So your profile acts like your virtual resume, and first impressions are important. Put some time into optimizing your profile, and yeah, you can do it for free, but there's actually a pretty good book called The 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene. And one of the chapters for me is just like, this is backwards land. This is the opposite of everything I learned growing up and everything I learned as an adult. And that is, despise the free lunch. If you can do something for free, then it doesn't have any value to it. Like, you should want to pay for things, because now you're in an ecosystem where there's value floating around. There is that money there. So you should be happy to pay for things because you want to get paid. So you want there to be that money floating around, and you should really despise and kind of be turned off by things that are free, because there's no value there. There's no money in circulation. There's nothing that you can collect yourself. It's just free. It has no real numbers on it, no real value attached to it. So that's the opposite of what everything I learned. I kind of, if it's free and open, I feel like I can participate, and there's not kind of this almost like cheapening to it by assigning money to it, or like having ulterior motivations, like people just want the money. But if you want power, and maybe that's not what you want, but one of the ways to get it is to be in a situation with high value, with all this money in circulation. And in order to find that situation, you can't just constantly be doing things that are free. You have to be spending money and receiving money. Okay, so then start following companies you would like to. Yeah, so put some time into optimizing your profile, and they have a resource for that. So here's the tips to optimize by a LinkedIn influencer. And this is probably the biggest one. You have to have the right settings. If you have all your privacy stuff on and nobody can see you, you might as well not even have a profile. So then start following companies you would like to work at or find interesting, and individuals you can learn from. Engage with their content with questions and comments, and consider creating your own content about your developer journey. Connect with people who engage with you, and aim to make these connections genuine by looking at someone's profile and finding something in common to talk about. And that's a great suggestion too. This is how you make a meaningful online connection with somebody you haven't looked in the eyes and shaken their hand. You've connected with them, you read their post, you left a comment, and you know, as it's set up here, in basically the first sentence, you made a genuine connection that resulted in a mutually beneficial transaction. All right. So connect with people who engage with you, and aim to make these connections genuine by looking at someone's profile and finding something in common to talk about. So X, this is a great platform to keep a finger on the pulse of a given domain. You can follow companies and individuals, engage with their posts, and create your own content. Discord, now for me, like, you have to be a bit careful with this because I'm a little bit addicted to YouTube. I'll admit that. I watch a few shows kind of in excess, and some of the shows I watched were just pushed to me from like recommendations that I didn't really seek out and want to watch. So you have to be a bit careful that your time and attention is not just given freely to whatever comes your way. And platforms like X, YouTube, probably even LinkedIn, they're basically designed to rob you of your time and attention with nothing in return, because they're trying to commoditize that and give it to advertisers who then pay them to use your stolen time and attention to try to entice you to buy their product. So you have to be careful about that. But if you are job searching, I definitely recommend at least LinkedIn. Obviously, I use YouTube a lot. I'm making a YouTube video right now. And then I definitely recommend Discord as well. In fact, if you want to get involved in the Odin project, in the Agile Institute that I'm making this video for, joining a private Discord with all the people on there is probably a good thing to do. So, okay, so there's likely a Discord channel dedicated to a given language or framework where you can ask questions and get help. You can sign up for Discord and search for what you are interested in. For example, Node.js, Ruby on Rails, and request to join. Open source projects, which the Agile Institute is open source. The Odin project is open source. When you have the skill set and confidence to contribute to open source projects, you will be working directly with project maintainers and contributors. It is a great way to connect with other developers while working towards a common good. A great way to find out reliable information quickly is through informational interviews, which is something I've never heard of. Okay, I'll have to come back and read this because I've never heard about that. Hopefully we'll get a summary about that. An informational interview is the formal name for a chat with someone who is in a position you want to be in or are interested in learning about. You get to ask them questions such as, what path did you take to get to this point? What do you do in a typical workday? What advice would you give to someone like me? And tell me about the challenges you face in your role. The questions you ask should help you find out if a particular role or company is the right fit for you, and if you need to make any adjustments in your strategy. I know a lot of people right now are looking for full-time remote work, so find somebody who's been working full-time remote. I've been doing it since I think 2001, maybe 2002, but 8 months of that, my job was to collect unemployment checks, but start thinking about who you would want to chat with, and then find that person and chat with them. So for me, it'd be somebody with a successful remote career. It is also a solid way to connect with the person you are interviewing, and it would be wise to add them to your network thereafter. For example, LinkedIn. And LinkedIn's a little bit tricky, I find, because you can follow someone or you can connect with them. And I'm not sure. This might be a good article that talks about that. So let's search for that. Connect. Okay, so it doesn't talk about that, unfortunately, but okay. So it looks like we're almost done here. The next one is to build genuine connections. The economy of professional networking rewards authenticity and mutual respect. And that's why I'm doing this channel too. I'm here, I'm real, I'm talking to a microphone and by myself in my room, but real people have listened to this channel. And mutual respect. I respect anyone who's taking the time to listen to this. This is like, watching grass grow or watching paint dry on the wall. You'll only get something out of this if you're a painter or a landscaper. So if you're going to ask a favor of someone, you are far more likely to get help if you have developed a genuine connection. That is to say, please do not approach people cold and ask them out of the blue to connect with you, or for a favor like, help me get this job in your company, or please be my mentor. Yeah, so that's a big one. That's kind of a new one to me. Something I've kind of struggled with is like, how do you actually reach out to someone? This may be perceived as disrespectful. People are busy and they reserve their limited time for helping those they know and respect. Your best strategy is to start conversations with a genuine interest in the person and connect on a mutual interest. For example, you should review someone's profile on LinkedIn and find something in common, or begin a conversation in person with questions related to what the person does, how they got to where they are, and what challenges they face in their daily work. Make it about them, not you. Show that you are interested in them as a person, not that you want them to give you something. Actively listen to what they say and ask follow-up questions, and even offer to help with something if you are in a position to do so. Think of the interaction like dating. Oh yeah, that'll help. If you don't ask someone, let's not think of it like dating. So I'm going to read this and then try not to think of it like dating and put it in a different way. You don't ask someone to be your romantic partner in your first conversation, right? Well, if that's again, I'm just going to read this and then try to think of it not like dating. The same applies here. If your initial conversation goes well, then you can follow up with a request to connect. So let's think of it kind of not like dating, because I know for me that not only is not useful to think of it that way, it might even be like a little bit traumatic. So like, let's not think of it like dating, and let's think of an interaction like playing sports. Like you don't play sports with someone, they're your only, I don't know. I feel like if let's do it like this. Actively listen to what they say and follow up questions, and even offer to help with something if you are in a position to do so. We're going to delete this sentence and read the next one. And delete this part too. If your initial conversation goes well, then you can follow up with a request to connect. So I encourage you, if you're like me and thinking of it like dating, is not a good thing to think of it like. Just read it again, but delete this whole part here. If you find it hard to talk to strangers in person and you are on your way to a local meetup or conference, consider having some predetermined things to talk about. Come up with a few generic questions. Oh God, now I'm thinking about dating. Such as, where do you work? What tech stack do you use at work? How did you get into coding? Also, don't forget to prepare to talk about yourself. Think of a 30-second elevator pitch describing who you are, what you do, and where you want to be in 12 months. This will help put your mind at ease because you have something to say when your brain doesn't feel like thinking in the moment. And I'm still thinking about dating. There's actually an NLP technique where you can like erase stuck thoughts. I'm going to try it. It's like a really weird woo-woo thing, but it's moving your eyes back and forth in 3 separate positions, up, middle, low, like 6 times. And then like, yeah, so I'm going to try that. All right, I'm not sure I did it right, and I'm still thinking about dating. Oh, actually not so much anymore. So let me read this one more time. It looks like we're almost done here. If you're still not sure how to get started virtually, find 1 or 2 people who seem to be doing a good job at connecting with others and study their behavior. How often do they post or comment on their posts? What sort of language do they use? How do they treat others that interact with them? Chances are, if you adapt some of these behaviors to become your own, you will also have more success connecting with others. One thing I would like to add to this too is like, yeah, this is great advice. Do the things that are working for other people. But another piece of really good advice that you never hear is screw all that. Forget about what other people are doing and really think about what really like turns you on. Like, what do you want out of life? And focus on that because you can't fake. There's a point where you just can't fake it. Like for me, like I love working from home. So like people who seem to be good at connecting with others, they probably work in an office. They probably do a lot of in-person things. Is that something that could help me? Potentially, I could go out and I could shake hands, look people in the eye, and I could get further. That might be a good short-term strategy. But long-term, am I going to really be happy doing that? Heck no. I don't want that. I know what I want to do, and really focusing on that, I think is really good advice. It's like, start being yourself and stop being someone else. Like, chances are, if you adopt what you want out of life, you will have more success connecting with others because you're just so passionate about this thing. You're going to find other people that are passionate about it too, instead of faking it and talking to people who are passionate about something you hate. So stop talking to those people and start interacting with situations you design because they're your greatest fantasy. Like, start fantasizing about things you would want. For me, working from home full time, and then make connections with that fantasy. Talk to other people who are remote. Follow people who are CEOs of remote companies. Like, immerse yourself in what you want. Like, stop worrying about the people who are more successful than you because they're doing something that they want and that you don't want. Of course they're more successful than you. You don't want to do that. They want to do that, so they're going to do it better than you. So what you need to do is do the things you want to do, because those are the things you're truly going to be passionate about, and give it your best shot, because if you do well, it matters. You get something you want for doing it well. Whereas if all you do is find one or two people who seem to be doing a good job at connecting with others and study their behavior, you could say, hey, I figured this out now. They do this. I'm going to do this. Great. Now as a reward for being able to connect better and adapting some of their behaviors, you get to do something you hate. Wonderful. Forget about that. Forget about other people. Think about what you want and immerse yourself in the things that you want. There exist professional gamers. There exist professional YouTubers that just watch meme videos all day. Like, do you want to do what, do you want to go to MIT? Like, maybe, but so you can study the book, you can memorize every word in the textbook, you can get all the, and then you end up in MIT and, like, is that what you want? So, like, I would say my own advice when I read this is drastically different than what they're saying here. And that is, don't worry about what other people are doing. Worry about what you want. And yes, worry about what other people are doing, but in the context of what you want. So if somebody is hyper successful doing things you don't like, the takeaway isn't to do more things you don't like. The takeaway is that you need to be more immersed in the things you like, because you're not seeing the people who are successful at doing the things you like. You are only seeing the people successful doing the things you don't like because you're not immersed in the things you like. You're disconnected from what you like, and you need to fix that. You need to get entrenched and involved in the things you like and start learning from the people who are successful at doing the things you like. All right, so maintain your network. Your professional network is a dynamic and organic entity. Much like a garden, it will take some maintenance and attention to keep it in shape. You can do this by asking and answering questions in online communities, sending your messages to your connections, and attending in-person events or scheduling periodic coffee chats with your closest connections. Ideally, this does not feel like a chore. Rather, it's something you naturally do because you enjoy it and get value from the interaction. So there you go. Do you like having coffee? Do you like going out and sitting down with people with coffee? Do that. It's great. Do you hate doing that? Don't do it, because even if other people are doing that and it's successful, like, yeah, you can eat your vegetables. I think you should eat your vegetables, but you should eat vegetables you like. There's tens of thousands of edible vegetables. Like, you should do hard things. You should challenge yourself. You should break out of your comfort zone, but you should do it for rewards that are worth earning, not rewards that end up being punishments. So find something you naturally do because you enjoy it and get value from the interactions, and do those things regardless of what they are, operating within the confines of the law, of course. There is so much more to building a professional network, but this lesson should give you a good start. Remember, it will take time, so start early and be genuine. Good luck. Okay, so we've got some additional resources here. This section contains helpful links to other content. It isn't required, so consider it supplemental. I'll just look over a quick. So this is the Ruby path. I'm not doing the Ruby path for this. I just don't think it's something that's going to be as valuable as the other one.
And I'm making
so lots of great resources here. There are additional resources I'm going to continue on. Mark this complete, and this is just the first read through, so I'm not going to go into depth in anything except to give a brief opinion of mine, especially when it contradicts kind of what we're reading, as I believe my opinion of this is kind of a contrarian opinion, and I think most people will get more value out of that, especially people who are kind of struggling to get ahead Well, it might be because the prize you're going for is not actually a reward for you. It's a punishment. So you're giving it all you got just to be punished in the end. Fix that. Go for real rewards that you really will value and be pride and that you want. Go for the things you want. Give it all you got to get something you want. Stop giving it all you got to give something you don't want. Stop that now. All right, so the next part is strategy. And that's all I got for this video, unfortunately. We're probably at like a 2-hour mark. What are we at? We're at the hour mark. That's usually the most I can do at a time for a video. So thanks for watching and stay tuned. Really excited about this playlist. Great things to come.